Limited release. You don't know the meaning of the words limited release until you've been to the Philippines. Mga Kwentong Barbero, or its literal English title, Barber's Tales, but the phrase Mga Kwentong Barbero actually just means, like tall tales, lies, and stuff, is written and directed by June Lana and stars Eugene Domingo, Noni Bencamino, Nico Manalo, and Isa Calzado. So Mga Kwentong Barbero takes place in this small town during, I think, at the end of the martial law era in the Philippines, and it centers around this woman named Marilu who ends up having to take over her late husband's barbershop business. And this movie really is just kind of like an observation of her character as she deals with, having to hide rebels in the town, and also just her being kind of passive aggressively oppressed as a woman during that time. Mga Kwentong Barbero got kind of a lot of buzz from abroad like last year, way before it obviously came out here. It premiered at various film festivals, most notably the Tokyo International Film Festival, where Eugene Domingo won Best Actress there, which is a huge deal. However, unfortunately, this might be the last Eugene Domingo movie will have in a while, because Eugene Domingo recently kind of went on this emotional tirade, sort of, at a press conference for this movie, when she was just expressing how much it sucked really for big movies like this to be acclaimed internationally, and experience a lot of success abroad, but when they get to the Philippines they just die. Like, no one watches them, no one pays any attention to them, and it really is like a sad fact. And she was just so tired of that, so now she's just gonna study. She's not gonna deal with movies for a while. So this is kind of her swan song, until her long hiatus ends or whatever. But it's difficult for me to talk about a movie like this, because much like the movie Dagita, which came out in Cinemalaya just earlier this month, I recognize the merits of this movie. Like, I can point out what is objectively good about it in my opinion, but it's just not my kind of movie in the end. But let's talk about things I like first. First of all, the visual look of this movie I think is very, very interesting. It's very, very cool. In terms of like production design and stuff, like, they really do try to replicate the Marcos era, but not. They don't try to overdo it at all. It's very subtle. And the way I describe it is like things seem very frozen in time. It's like when you go to a theme park, like Disneyland or Enchanted Kingdom or something, and you look into one of those fake shop windows and you just see all the plastic and wax stuff just lying there. It feels like that in this movie. And that's great because the movie really does feel like it's frozen in time, like everyone's sort of backwards thinking in a way, and this town just feels so idle all the time. Now I think it's a very wise choice to keep most of the action, like the actual, shooting between rebels and the military, off screen, because it makes it more ominous. You just hear gunshots, you see flashes in the woods and stuff, and for one, that means they get to save on some budget, and secondly, like, it really just fits the tone so well, of things happening in the distance, bad things, but in the town they're just trying to keep calm. And overall, like, the cinematography of this movie, it feels like you're watching an old photograph, like it's sort of black and white, it's sort of sepia, and it's sort of creased around the edges. Now, like I mentioned a while ago, this definitely is more of a character study than, any straightforward plot or anything. It's really intriguing, though, to see the parallels that Jun Lana, the writer and the director, the parallels he draws between martial law and the situation of these women in this town. What I like is that he doesn't really give any answers, but it's nice how he's able to just present these two things that you wouldn't think of linking immediately, but they do kind of fit each other. And the writing I find is very tight, because everyone, like, in terms of characters, everyone's like connected to each other in the way that you think small town people are connected. They all affect each other's lives no matter how small. But Eugene Domingo really is like the best part of this movie, hands down. She's known in the Philippines as, first of all, she was like this big comedic actress, and she has recently started doing like more dramatic work, and she's really, really good in this movie. She's extremely subtle in her performance, but at the same time you can tell that every bad thing that happens to her just like weighs down on her shoulders, and just when a positive emotion comes out, it really does kind of come out very, very gradually, and it's great how she does that, because there are just so many layers of emotions behind her every single moment she's on screen. The rest of the cast is good, however they only really, really shine with Eugene Domingo. I think that's how good she is, the fact that she makes the other actors better. Isa Calzado in particular is very, very good, I think, because her character is sort of like a liar. Like, she lies to herself a lot, and it's great when an actor is able to convey that, because an actor is already acting, and it's great that she was able to make her character feel like she was acting. I mean, it's very complex also, and I think she did a great job. Now, as a director, Jun Lana really does take time to get his point across. You know, like this movie is very slow paced. I don't really have a problem with that, and I actually do appreciate how he kind of respects the audience enough not to just shove it in their faces and say, okay, this is what I want you to understand. Like he really makes us feel the situation they're in. He also has fantastic control over the tone of this movie. You know, it's so somber and melancholic, so much so that like when bad things happen, it just feels so eerily calm. You know, like it's staring you right in the face, like this death or whatever. But you know, everyone is just sort of they just kind of sigh about it. But there are certain scenes in this movie that are truly gripping. I think, especially one scene where where a rebel is hiding in a house and is being kind of tracked down by a military guy. I think that sequence was very, very tense. It's extremely well directed. Now, as for the things I didn't like about this movie, there are quite a few. For one, I think it's a bit overlong, like let's say like 10 minutes or something, but that's mainly because of how I think the ending is dragged out way too much to the point that it really loses its impact. I was really into the ending, and then they just kind of stretch it out, and then there's like an unnecessary cameo at the end, and it's just the ending just kind of falls with a thud. Secondly, I honestly don't think I really cared about a lot of the characters when they weren't with Eugene Domingo's character. You know, the only reason why you don't want bad things to happen to these other characters is because bad things will happen to Eugene Domingo's character by association. So it's really you just caring about her because when bad things happen to them, you're just kind of like, oh well, it's too bad. Also, there's this thing about how the characters, like some characters, like complaining out loud about the martial law and explicitly talking about like their exact political stances and stuff. And it feels like Jun Lana is trying to force the story into context when he shouldn't be doing that because the context should just be there. It should exist and we should know it's always there. Like he doesn't need to force the story in. So I would say Mga Kwentong Barbero is an okay movie. Again, it's just really not my thing. Like definitely check it out. Try to check it out if it's showing anywhere. If this is like your kind of filmmaking, or if you're just looking for something new, because again, at least people are trying new things. It is sad, however, that this might be Eugene Domingo's like last independent like serious film for a long time. I think she still has a contract to finish, but she really was very adamant in saying that she wanted to study first. Alright guys, have you seen Mga Kwentong Barbero? If you have, what do you think about it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Whatever you thought, whether you agree with me or not, please leave me a comment. Let's have a conversation.